school, I actually dominated the national championships for 4 years, from ages 10 to 13. That was the day I actually put on my Facebook, I'm going to win the world's strongest man one day. I'll always be known for the 500 kilo deadlift. It's the iconic lift. I do fancy doing a bodybuilding show, just the once, just for myself, against myself. In strongman, you've got to be fit for 60 seconds. I literally spent years doing, I used to do my HIIT training a minute on, minute off. I used to do an hour of a minute on, minute off, probably 3-4 times a week, and you feel incredible. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my career. Do you ever see a deadlift pyramid? I quite proud myself on this. I'm like the master of recovery. I mean, I was doing ice baths years before they were a trend. So I would do physiotherapy, but I would use physiotherapy as a way of breaking down the muscle even more.
Hey folks, it's Dr. ShawnBaker here. Hey, if you or someone you love is suffering from chronic disease and you're tired of just managing symptoms with potions, pills, and procedures, I want you to check out Revero.com. Our team of dedicated professionals is committed to tackling the root cause of your issue and finally getting you healthy. Hurry up though, our spaces are filling up very quickly. Well, probably you don't need introduction, but for those who don't know, Eddie Hall, world's strongest man, still a beast, obviously, and now your interest, I guess, is in fighting. So you've got a big fight coming up with former world's strongest man Mariusz Pudzianowski in a couple weeks, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks on Saturday. So it's not far off at all. I'm dreading it, to be honest. It's
dreading. Well, I mean, he's going to be a tough fight. Longer than you. I think he's been doing it for about a decade now, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's been doing this for a while.
He's been doing it 16 years.
16 years, okay.
And has had 27 professional fights. God knows how many amateur. But yeah, this is my first MMA fight, and I'm going up against a guy that's got all that experience. And above all that, he's an absolute hard case and obviously 5-time world's strongest man, so he's no weakling either.
Yeah, so it's not like you can, I think you outweigh him right now I don't know, I'm assuming, but I mean, he's still, it's not like the normal MMA fighter where you'd be like 6 times stronger. It's a guy who's strong. No, geez, no. So how's that training going?
Yeah, no, it's going good. Doing 4 fight sessions in the mornings, and then now I'm in camp. I usually do weights in the afternoons, but now I'm in camp, I'm doing swim sessions. So I do fight training in the mornings for about an hour, and then back home, have lunch, a bit of a recoup, and then swimming in the afternoon for roughly sort of 40 minutes, something like that. Yeah, so I'm training twice a day.
Tough schedule for sure. And what do you need to weigh? I mean, is there a weight goal that you're trying to hit? Obviously, I guess it's unlimited. You can weigh whatever you come in at, but I mean, is there a particular goal you're trying to hit?
Not really. I think as long as I'm fit for the 4-minute rounds, which I'm fit enough as of now. It's not to say I'm not going to gas out, because when that adrenaline hits, it's different. But I'm currently sat at 159 kilo. I'd probably say I'm probably going to lose about 3-4 kilo to the fight. So probably come in at 155-ish, something like that.
And what is he's probably what is he? He's probably 130 or something like that.
No, I think he's like 123, 124.
120.
So there should be about 30 kilos, just about between us.
Yeah. So you can maybe if you can get on top of him.
Hopefully, yeah. Easier said than done.
Yeah, that'll be tough. Yeah, I get it. So, well, let me, obviously, you and I met, you had reached out or something. We got together about doing a carnivore diet. You did it for 3 months. Apparently it was a pretty good experience. I told you, hey, just make sure you eat enough because of all that training you're doing. So maybe you can just maybe recap what you did, how it turned out for you, and your insights that you got from that experience.
Yeah. I did meat, eggs, and dairy for 90 days. I would say once I got over the shits, which was probably about 3 weeks, everything just started turning around. My inflammation came right down. I was sleeping better. My energy improved. I was, physically, you could see it, weight was dropping off me, as in body fat was dropping off me. I guess the main thing that I noticed, really, that I was astounded by was the energy levels. I just didn't think you could function without carbs, and that just completely changed my sort of mindset on the carnivore diet completely, and still to this day uphold pretty much a fairly strict carnivore diet.
You know, one of the things you had mentioned, which I think shocked a lot of people, because this is coming from a guy who's strong. I mean, like world's strongest man strong, that you got in the gym and you were still hitting up pretty good numbers. In fact, you said you were surprised at how strong you were able to maintain during that.
Yeah. I would say my strength improved. I mean, look, it's easy to say that, and it's easy to, you know, I'd come off a sort of a very wishy-washy period where I wasn't really training for anything. I'd just come off a holiday. So, you know, it was like, right, I'm going to get my arse into gear, started lifting heavy weights or heavier weights along with the carnivore diet. But the strength came back so fast and so aggressively. At one point, I was shoulder pressing 100 kilo dumbbells, which I haven't done, you know, since sort of like 2019. So, you know, I was doing PBs almost on some of the weights. So that was a great big shocker for me. I think it's because the information came down so much that I was able to push the weights that much harder and more regularly as well. I just didn't feel as sore. You know, I'd do and train shoulders or chest or legs or whatever, and the next day there'd be no DOMs, and I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's something that I've stated. I mean, you know, obviously there's a lot of literature on performance benefits of carbohydrate with regard to like max cycling power output and things like that. But again, when you're not sore and you know, your body's been through the ringer over the years, like mine, I'm almost 60. I've been lifting heavy and doing stuff all the years. And I appreciate the fact that I'm not beat up all the time, so I can continue to train at a pretty high level. And I think that does make a difference when you look at cumulatively over time. You had to eat a lot. Tell us about how much you were eating. What was the caloric? I think you get like 10,000 calories or something.
Oh, geez. I mean, most days I was eating upwards of 7,000 calories easily, you know, and that would consist of quite fatty foods. I always ribeye steaks. Every single steak I had was a ribeye. Lots of bacon. We have something in England called black pudding, which is basically pig's blood mixed with beef fat. I had lots of that. Halloumi cheese, lots of full fat cottage cheese. I was having loads of Greek yogurt. It was just basically anything that, you know, I felt like it was like every meal just felt like a cheat meal, you know, and I was just eating as much as I wanted to the point I was full every single meal. And yeah, it was just incredible to see the weight drop whilst I was just shoveling all this food in and having this immense amount of energy.
How did you feel mentally? I mean, did you notice any different? Like some people notice weird things, like they don't, you know, they don't have hiccups, or their skin is different. Or did you notice any kind of weird stuff? I mean, I know 3 months is not a super long time, but anything you noticed like unusual while you did? You said you had some, you know, digestive stuff at the beginning, loose stools. Yeah. Once that cleared up, how was your digestion?
So I think the only issue I ran into was I was getting acid reflux, and I think that was from eating too much Greek yogurt in the evenings. But and it took me a couple of months to realize that, you know. And then once I sort of realized what the issue was, I sort of cut back on the Greek yogurt, especially in the evenings, and it cleared up within about a week. So that was that issue. I guess the probably number one thing to answer that question would be my sleep. Like I just felt myself sleeping so much better, you know, just like going to bed and waking up fresh, which I wasn't having before. And now I've sort of jumped on this meat diet, you know, like even now, like my diet is 90% meat based, and I just sleep so much better, which in turn just gives you a whole remedy of benefits, doesn't it? You know, the information down, your energy levels are up. So I'd say sleep was probably the best thing I noticed about the diet.
Yeah, I think some people, you know, have put out that meat, particularly red meat, is inflammatory. But what I see clinically, that's anything but the opposite. You know, I think we just, and as you can see yourself, the inflammation went down, even though you're eating, you know, 7,000 calories a day versus you know, of meat and other things. What, you know, I mean, as someone who has competed at the highest levels in strength and strongman type stuff, first guy ever to pull a 500 kilo deadlift. That was back, 5-6 years ago. I can't remember when you did that.
Yeah, 2016, 9 years ago. Yeah.
9 years ago. Okay. So, you didn't do that on a vegetarian diet, right? You've always eaten meat, correct? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what got you into strongman from the very beginning? Did you just naturally, were you as strong as a kid and you're just stronger than everybody else and just kind of continue to pursue that?
I had a quite lucky upbringing where my mum was very athletic and both my eldest brothers were very athletic in their youth, and we were all swimmers. I think my middle brother swam at national level, which obviously sort of empowered me to go and swim at national level. I actually dominated the national championships for 4 years, from ages 10 to 13. I was on the world class potential squad, which is basically the junior Olympic team for swimming. So I was quite blessed in a way that, I've always been from age 5. I've pretty much been training 10 hours a week from age 5. So it was so easy for me to get into lifting weights because I had such a good frame and heart and lungs from the swimming. Jumping into the gym and pumping iron was just so easy for me. And I saw benefits so quick. Like, geez, I blew up so fast. Like, my strength and stamina was just off the charts compared to everyone else in the gym. So I guess being I was basically a professional swimmer. I was a paid athlete at 10 years old. I had all the support network as well. I had all the coaches, the strength and conditioning, the diet advice. So yeah, I'd say from a very early age, everything's been in place. Lots of meat over the years. So yeah, just been pretty lucky with everything.
And then did you go from swimming straight into strongman, or did you do like some powerlifting before? Or how did you get pushed down that strongman route?
So initially, just wanted to be a bodybuilder. So I wanted to be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think as most people do when they start going to the gym, they just want to look good. And I very quickly realized by the time I hit 17, I was the strongest guy in the gym. And we're not talking some basic gym. It was a humongous gym with like 6,000 members. And age 16, 17, I was the strongest guy in the gym. So I realized I had a talent very early on. Continued to lift these ridiculous weights that no one else could touch. I'll never forget, seeing the 60 kilo dumbbells on the rack when I first started going to the gym at 13 and thinking, who on this planet can lift 60 kilo dumbbells and press them, shoulder press them and bicep curl them? Fast forward 3-4 years later, I was bicep curling them, I was pressing them. So yeah, a very good beginning in the bodybuilding world, and then just sort of through that talent of lifting stupidly heavy weights, just naturally fell into the strongman. I think it was my middle brother James who entered me in my first strongman contest about an hour north from me, and I came fifth out of like 40 guys, and I got the bite. I think that was the day I actually put on my Facebook, I'm going to win the world's strongest man one day. Watch this space. And I said that when I was 19 years old at my very first strongman contest.
And how old were you when you won it?
I was 29.
10 years, a decade. So a decade later, yeah. There's a lot of time that goes, a lot of lifting and time that goes into that improvement. So so you're obviously 500 kilo deadlift. What would you say was your best? You feel like your best strengths were? Well,
I mean, obviously, I'll always be known for the 500 kilo deadlift. I think it's the iconic lift. It's the lift that was impossible. It's the lift that everyone said it couldn't be done. So I'll always be known for that. And it's a shame I was never really pushed in this aspect, but I believe my shoulders, my upper body strength was like levels, heaps and bounds above any other athlete. I could if I got a weight to my chest, I could press it above my head fairly easily. I held the world record axle press, I think 216 kilos. When I got to my chest, I just leant back and it literally went up like that. But I was never pushed. What I was capable of, I don't know. But I actually think that my shoulders were my strongest asset, and the back was secondary.
what was when you decided to stop competing in strongman? What drove? Was it injury, or was it just I've done enough? I've achieved all I want to achieve out of this, or what made you say I'm going to no longer do this, compete at this level?
Well, 10 years is a long strongman career. Firstly, people play it down that you're only just getting going at 29, but when you've done 10 years in the game, it's an obsession. You've got to be obsessed to be at the top of any sport, especially strongman. And at the time, just like the rivalry between me, Thor, and Brian Shaw was just so intense. It was literally first, second, third, first, second, third, first, second, third for a good few years. And it was just me, Brian Thor, me, Brian Thor, me, Brian Thor. It was just like such an intense sort of period. And I'd say that last 2 years of my career, it was just so stressful. And I had a few health scares. I had a few points in my life where only going off blood work. I mean, I had no like heart attacks or anything, but my blood work was always on the limit. Like every time I went to my blood doctor, he'd be like, "Geez, Ed, like I have never seen kidney markers this high. I've never seen liver markers this high. I've never seen hemoglobins this high." And I never forget. It was like 5 weeks before World's Strongest Man 2017, the Euro 1, and he did my bloods, and he sort of said, "Mate," he said, "you are literally at any second about to have a heart attack or a stroke. Like you are on the brink." And that's what I sort of said to myself, this is it. I've got win, draw, or lose. This is going to be my last year. And I've got to pull out for my health and for my family, really.
So what do you? I mean, because I guess you're getting close to 40 at this point. So you're thinking about where am I? Obviously, you're fighting right now, and that's obviously got it's got an expiration date as well. I mean, you can't be fighting when you're 70, I suppose. But where do you see yourself 10, 15 years from now? I mean, you see guys like there's still some of the old strongmen like Bill Kazmaier is still running around. Yeah. I think. Are you going to be lifting? Do you think you're going to be lifting heavy for the rest of your life? I mean, heavy is relative, obviously, to what you're used to, but I mean. What are your thoughts on how you're going to, proceed?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'm well aware. I'm 350 pounds at the minute, and I have been for probably the last 4 years. And I'm well aware you cannot take this going into your 50s, 60s, 70s. You just guys that age at that size just don't live. That's a fact, and there's a reason for that. So I think when 40s come is the time that I've just got to sort of step back and re-gauge and take your foot off the gas, so to say, in all these ridiculous feats that I want to do, and maybe move into the more technical side of things. I do fancy doing a bodybuilding show before I'm 40, just the once, just for myself, against myself, just do it, step on stage, and all be done. Arm wrestling is something I want to get into as well, just because it's enjoyable. It's something easy to train for, and you don't have to be stupid body weight to be good at it. But I quite like. I mean, people like Mike O'Hearn, and people like yourself inspire me. Just guys who are of age, just train to look good and feel good. And I think that is where I ultimately will be, is, sort of mid 40s onwards. I'll just be a guy that trains just to look and feel good and probably drop my body weight down. I'll be well under 300 pounds by the time I'm sort of mid 40s, I'm pretty sure.
Hey folks, it's Dr. ShawnBaker here. Hey, if you or someone you love is suffering from chronic disease and you're tired of just managing symptoms with potions, pills, and procedures, I want you to check out Revero.com. Our team of dedicated professionals is committed to tackling the root cause of your issue and finally getting you healthy. Hurry up, though. Our spaces are filling up very quickly. Yeah, I mean, I not quite your level, but I spent about 20 years at about 285 pounds of weight, and then at some point I said that's too much, and I dropped down to like 240. I'm about 250 right now, and I'm almost 60 right now.
Yeah, wow.
And I think it makes sense to keep saying strong-ish, strong relative to your peers. And for you, like I consider pulling 500 pounds to be decent for you. That's chump change. But I mean, if you're say still deadlifting 700 pounds at 50, 60, that's probably not a bad place to be. I don't think there's a big downside of that. As long as you can function. And I'm working on sprinting right now, so I want to be able to run fast, and that's That's what my ambition is for when I turn 60. So that's
Nice.
something different. As far as, training for the fights, how different is that, physically for you comparing to strongman training? Because strongman training, there's some similarities. I mean, kind of there's that, as opposed to like one rep mass, strongman has a bit of an endurance component to it, whether it's a Husafel stone or a truck pull or something like that. So how do the energy systems work differently?
Well, in strongman, you've got to be fit for 60 seconds. And I know we're huge guys, but even when I was at 430 pounds, I can 100% guarantee you, if they put me and yourself in a truck pull race, I would give a hell of a lot more effort than you would give for those 60 seconds. But if you were to put us in a running race for, say, 10 miles, you would absolutely thrash me. But I guess what I'm saying is we were super fit for those 60 seconds. And that was important as a strongman. Is, I know it sounds daft, but being fit for those 60 seconds is a hell of a long time when you're doing maximal effort. And I believe that's why strongmen themselves are actually quite fit guys. And that when they stop doing the strongman, it's important that you get into the sort of endurance side of things. And that's exactly what I did. I started doing the strongman and just continued on. I literally spent years doing, I used to do my HIIT training, a minute on, minute off. I used to do an hour of a minute on, minute off, probably 3-4 times a week. And you feel incredible when that's sort of like bringing in the endurance. And with the fight training now, I mean, unfortunately for me, Marius wouldn't do any less than 4-minute rounds. So I'm fighting 4-minute rounds. And there's nothing else you can do other than get in to the gym, put that clock on for 4 minutes and give your max effort for 4-minute rounds for 5-6 times, in a row and work it. But yeah, I guess that's been the hardest transition, is getting fit for longer durations. I was always fit. You put me in the ring for 60 seconds, I'd absolutely, throw bombs for 60 seconds, but it's been building on from that. So just getting fit's been the tough thing.
Yeah, I can tell you, someone who's done a little bit of jiu-jitsu. I'm certainly not a fighter in any significant way, but I can tell you, once you gas out, you are worthless. I mean, it's just like it's over. I mean, basically. So,
when you gas out, that's when you're getting elbows to the face and head kicks, and you wake up in your back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's tough stuff there. And so, with regard to training for that, are you focusing on, I mean, mixed martial arts, obviously there's boxing, there's jiu-jitsu, there's judo, there's wrestling, there's all kinds of things there. Obviously you're probably going to be better at something versus other things. Where do you find, not to give away secrets, but where do you find that your strengths are and where your relative weaknesses are?
Well, I believe my strengths are my standing game. So the kickboxing, just standing, kicking, punching. As you can imagine, just having the size and strength advantage just makes those shots so much heavier. So no one wants to stand and exchange with me, as I've found so far in the sparring. But most people will go to the floor with me, which is where the guys with experience come into play, and a big guy like myself finds it a little bit harder to manipulate on the floor. But I've been working both very, very hard. And I guess the floor game is my tactics for the floor game. If you ever hit the floor, is make sure I land on top, stay on top. And if we're on the bottom, we've just got to work like hell to get stood up and back on our feet in kickboxing.
Yeah. So you said 4-minute round. How many rounds? Is it 3 minute, 3 rounds, or is it 5 rounds?
Two 4-minute rounds with a 90-second break, which doesn't sound a lot, but I say 160 kilo, that's a lot.
It is a lot for sure. Absolutely. And so where's that fight going to be?
It's going to be in Krakow in Poland, April the 26th.
Okay. Because he's Polish. Is he still live there, or I don't know? Or
yeah, he lives in Warsaw. Is it Warsaw? Yes.
I see. And then after this, is this a one and done thing, or do you think you're going to continue in this stuff?
I've got no aspirations to be a ranked fighter, if that's what you're asking. But I've got aspirations of making money, I guess is the right answer. And me fighting Marius just makes sense. There'd be no point of me going into the ring with an average fighter and even a title holder, because it's always a lose-lose for me. If I beat a guy half my size, It's like, oh, well, you're double his size, so you're bound to win. If you lose, it's like, you lost to a guy half your size. So it's a lose-lose if you're going to fight a normal fighter. So you've got to fight the freaks. You've got to fight the Mariusz Podnoskis, the Thors, because that's where it makes sense. That's where people want to see big guy fight a big guy. And it's like, it is like a modern-day gladiator, Goliath sort of colliding. And that's what excites me. So get this Mariusz one out the way, see how that goes. Might even draw a line there. You don't know, but the fight's got to make sense. I wouldn't just fight anybody. It's got to be another Goliath.
Yeah, maybe you should just do a boxing match with Jake Paul or something like that. That would be obviously a moneymaker. If you can position yourself for that one, that would be good.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I think, and as I say, it's at my age, it's just about putting eyes on screens and making pounds. That's it.
And how old are you, 89? You're like 38-ish, or how old are you right now?
37, just turned 37.
37. Yeah. Okay. So you're not that old for sure. I can tell you that. But I mean, do you find I see guys, there's like Mark Felix. I'm sure you remember Mark Felix. He's competing and he's got, I don't know, he's like 58 or something like that.
Yeah,
still pushing up just monstrous numbers. Do you think ages my belief is our sort of understanding of what an aging athlete can do is much more than we used to think it is. I think we're in an age where we've got the technology, we've got the training, we've got the recovery, we've got the science, where I think you can see guys that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s that are still maybe not the top of the world, but pretty damn impressive relative to where they were before. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, no, I completely agree. I think the science has really helped with that, and the understanding of hormones has also helped with that as well. I think TRT therapy has played a massive role in guys aging gracefully and still being strong. And I've seen TRT turn people's lives around from frail old men to become, good, strong, strapping guys. So I think technology and understanding of hormones has played a massive role in the fitness and sort of strength and longevity of older guys.
Well, we're thinking, it's interesting. I look at guys like Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, these guys, and, they're both pushing 80 years of age, and they're still pretty damn impressive for their age, regardless of what hormones they may or may not be using. But I think we're maybe in the first period ever in the history of mankind where, you've had a generation of guys that have trained their whole life. Like, you go back to the 1920s
Yes.
and the 30s, there was a few odd people that have done it, the Mighty Atom, and you've got a few of the people out there, the old timey strongman guys, but not many of them. Yep. And so we're going to see for the first time what a lifelong, what lifelong dedication to training and exercise and really living does. Because you see, I've seen some 80-year-olds and some stuff that are doing some pretty amazing things. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah. To see that, as far as quality of life is concerned. So you said you're doing like a 90% meat-based, animal-based diet. What is your favorite thing, and how much are you eating these days? I mean, you're up, like you said, when you're first doing Carnivore, you're 7,000. Is that still what you're doing every day?
Probably more towards the 5,000 calorie mark now. It's still predominantly meat, eggs, and dairy. I'll have fruit, but only berries like blueberries, perhaps 2 or 3 times a week. And that's usually after super strenuous exercise, like my swimming. I'll perhaps have Greek yogurt and blueberries straight after my swimming just to replenish and get a bit of a feel-good factor. And then the only veggies I eat are in the form of live cultured food. So I only have live cultured sauerkraut, kimchi, pickled food, pickled onion, and very small amounts. So that is pretty much my diet. It's still meat, eggs, dairy, and then very small amounts of fruit and pickled food.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you have some children, or at least a son, I think, for sure. I can't remember how many kids you have.
Yeah. I've got 4 kids in total, three that live with me. My son's 12, lives with me, and I've got a daughter that's 20 months, and then another one at 6 months.
And so, well, they're a little young for training, but
yeah.
But your son, I think, is training with you, correct?
Yeah, my son's training with me, and he's a massive advocate for steak and eggs.
Yeah,
I think most days he'll have a ribeye steak and eggs. He absolutely loves it, and my daughter as well. She is a little carnivore.
She's a 20-month-old.
Yeah, she will eat anything with butter and salt on it. And, I sit at the table and have my ribeye steaks and my black pudding and my bacon, and she will sit with me and just shovel it in. She absolutely loves it.
And I bet she's doing well, like growth wise, and probably cognitively hitting her goals and all that stuff. Probably with all that good nutrition.
Yeah, very, very well, and very advanced intelligence wise. And we purposely make sure she has at least an egg a day, every single day, because we've read up on that about the advancements of what eggs do for the brain. So we make sure she's having at least one egg a day, organic as well.
Yeah, that's got to be. And your wife was she skeptical, or is she okay with all this crazy amounts of meat that you're consuming?
No, I mean she's all for it. It's actually freed up a lot of her time because she isn't cooking carbs. She isn't doing roast potatoes and pastas and rice, so it's helped her out a bit. She still eats normally. She'll have her bagels and little bits of potatoes and baked potatoes and stuff. So she's not turned, but I think she's seen what it's done for me, and she's all for it. She advocates it. In terms of she's never said to me anyway, you should eat more fruit or veg. She just gets it. She sees how I look and feel and just advocates it in that way.
What do you think was the hardest workout you ever did?
The hardest workout?
Yeah.
The hardest workout? What, in like ever existence or?
Sure. What anything you can remember that was just the absolute, like, I don't want to do that again.
Did you ever see, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my career. Did you ever see a deadlift pyramid?
Yeah.
Where I did like 60 kilo, 100 kilo, 140, and just kept going up and up and up, went to the top of the ladder, all the way up to 420 kilo, and then all the way back down to 60. It was 19 reps in total. It was like one of the most ridiculous feats of strength I've ever done. What people don't know is I actually did that pyramid twice that day, because we did it the first time and we got up to 380 kilo, and I stood up with 380 kilo, and the guy on my right had run out of plates. So this guy slapped a 20 kilo on, and this guy didn't have enough plates. So I sort of threw it down, had a massive go at this guy. It was actually my training partner, and he just didn't count the plates right. So we had to, obviously it just fucked the video. So we had to reset, gave me 10 minutes rest. So I did that twice. I did that twice in the same session. Once up to 380, and then the second time up to 420. And that, hand on heart, was the hardest session I've ever done in my life. I remember my back for probably 2 weeks after that was just so destroyed.
So was it going down? I mean, did you ever get a point where like it's getting easier? Or was it every rep just a pain after you get up very heavy?
I think once I got up to 420 kilo, every rep after that, up until or down until about 300 kilo, was pain. But up to 420 was easy. And then it was the going down probably 4 or 5 reps after that really hurt. It just so fatigued.
So let me ask you, because there's a lot of like emphasis now I see like a lot like in the sprinting worlds of not overcooking things, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Just training to the point you're so sore that you can't function the next day. What are your thoughts on training for performance at this point? Does it I mean, is there a point where you just say, hey, I've pushed it and I'm going to dial it back so I can recover, so I can hit tomorrow? What are your thoughts on that?
So I like to train and this is funny you say this actually, because it was only probably 6 weeks ago I got rhabdo. Is that how it's called? Rhabdo?
Yeah, rhabdomyolysis. Yeah.
Yes. So I got rhabdo for the very first time 6 weeks ago. And it was just before I was about to start camp. And, I was doing my fight training 4 times a week. I was doing my swimming 4 times a week. And I was doing my weights on top of that. And I finished this. How did it happen? I missed 2 gym sessions in the week. So on the Friday, I had to cram all my weight training into one. So on the Friday, I did shoulders, chest, legs, and back all in one session. It took me 2 hours. But bear in mind, I'd already fight trained in the morning and swam. Then I did a 2-hour weight session. And it hit me hard. But I remember coming into the gym Monday, and I'd been like just down and groggy all weekend. I did a fight session. And then I just died. Well, literally died. Like just like got home and just went to bed, slept for something like 18 hours, woke up like bags under my eyes, felt horrendous. And it took me a few days to realize what I'd done. And I'd just basically given myself rhabdo. So I had to do loads of IV bags and flush my kidneys out. It screwed up a whole week of training. So yeah, that taught me, that's the first time I ever had that. And I could only put it down to my age, because I could do that quite regularly. I could do that, especially when I was like in my 20s. I could train like that all the time and then carry on the next day. So yeah, that was a big lesson, and it's been really good for me for the camp. Actually, is like learn when to walk away. Like we've been doing the fight training, we're doing the 4-minute rounds, and we've done like 6 to 8 rounds, and then my coach is like, right, how many more do you want to do? And I'm like, let's leave it there. And so, that's more than enough fitness. Any more than that, I'm going to start breaking down my muscle tissue. I'm swimming tonight. So it's really helped me just to sort of realize when to put the zip across and just leave things.
Yeah, I remember talking to Ed Cohn a while back, and he was talking about a lot of his training. He would always leave a rep in reserve. He'd always just kind of, let's leave one in the tank and not really overstress things. What do you do to recover? I mean, because, like during Strongman, I mean, obviously you got to recover. And were you any special things you would do for recovery? Ice baths, obviously sleep is probably the biggest thing we do, but what kind of recovery techniques did you use?
Yeah, so I quite proud of myself on this. I'm like the master of recovery. I was doing ice baths years before they were a trend. Like 2012, I had an ice bath. Nobody even knew what an ice bath was until like 2018, 19. So in the strongman days, at least 3 times a week, I would do ice baths with a sauna, so hot and cold. I would do physiotherapy. So if and this is where I really came into my own. So I would do physiotherapy, but I would use physiotherapy as a way of breaking down the muscle even more. So I'd train my legs on a Monday, and then Monday night I'd have an hour and a half physio session where the physio would break down my muscles on my legs even more to help me basically to break it down even more so I could recover stronger and bigger. So chest on Tuesday, I then do physio on my chest Tuesday night. So I was doing an hour and a half physio every day. An hour's stretching every day. I would do active recovery, and that would mainly be HIIT training. That would be the minute on, minute off. And that would be light stuff like hitting a tire of a sledgehammer, just get yourself moving. And then the hyperbaric chamber, I would say, along with red light therapy, cryotherapy. Like I've got everything at home now, but I would say the hyperbaric chamber was probably my number one tool. If I was ever feeling sore, I would get a couple of ice packs and I'd jump in my hyperbaric chamber for an hour and a half, and I'd stick ice packs on any sore points, and I'd come out and I'd feel invincible. Like, you just feel incredible.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me, like, what do you do for like fun types? I mean, I truly enjoy training. I mean, that's the highlight of my day. Typically, is getting out there and just pushing myself. I literally get a kick out of that. I assume the same for you. But
yep.
Do you do anything? I mean, if you got a kid, so obviously that takes up some of your time. Probably enjoy spending them. But do you do anything outside of training and spending family time for fun? What kind of stuff do you do?
I mean, like, I'll go on bike rides with my son. That's like, and again, for me, that's like nice active recovery. So we'll go out on the bikes, and we'll also go out on electric bikes as well. Sometimes we'll go out on the off-road bikes, and we'll just whiz up the woods and stuff. And that, again, that's just nice. It's just relaxing. Lucky and blessed enough to have a quite nice sized swimming pool in my garden. And I've got an indoor swimming pool as well. So, I'll always take my kids in there, and we'll just play ball or just wrestle or something. So there's always something to be doing with the kids in there. I think every living waking moment at the minute is just spent looking after 2 babies, which, if I'm being brutally honest, is draining the fucking life out of me. But it's worth it.
I saw years ago, there was a study. They took like some professional football players and had them mimic what a little toddler would do just from activity, and it wore them out. They just couldn't keep up with the kids because they were just so climbing it up and rolling around and all that stuff. They're just balls of energy for sure. Yeah. When you get on the bike with your kid, you ever tempted to race them? Do you guys ever get out there and do like race you up the hill type of stuff? Is that something you're competitive with?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, Max goes to the gym as well, so you know we've always got that little competitive nature, and we'll set each other little goals and targets. Like, you know, in the gym, we'll pick a weight, and we're like, right, I've got to do 50 reps. You pick a weight, you got to do 50 reps. And if you don't hit the reps, then I mean the names we call each other, I don't want to repeat, but you know, we'll take the piss out of each other. But yeah, we'll have races on the bikes, or sometimes do little run races and stuff. So, but yeah, it's important. You know, you got to keep that competitive nature with your kids. I think that's important.
Yeah,
Instill it in them.
It's kind of dad's job. My wife shakes her head when I'm with that with my kids, but I said, look, it keeps me sane anyway.
Yeah.
Fights on. You said what was the date of the fight? April
26th.
26th. Predictions? You got a prediction?
A fucking good fight. I mean, Jesus, Marius is a hard bastard. And, you know, all I can say is it's going to be a good fight. I don't want to sit here and say I'm going to kick his ass. Obviously, I want to, and I've got the capabilities to. It's just putting it all in action. So I want to have a good fight, good entertainment, and we both walk away with both our eyes, both our retinas in contact, and we both go home to our families safe and sound.
Yeah, that's the thing with fighting. One punch, man. It just you know, you connect the right way, and it's over no matter who gets it. So good luck to that, Eddie. Hopefully, I'll look for the results on that. Well, hey, I really appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you trying the carnivore diet for 3 months, and you had a good result. And so, good to see. Hopefully, more people be inspired. At least try. I promote it for health because I see a lot of people with diseases, and I see people with autoimmune disease, and mental health issues. It really helps them. So, having somebody of your caliber and you know, notoriety do it is beneficial. So thanks for doing that. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. No, I enjoyed it. And obviously we spoke beforehand and you gave me some tips about what to eat and what to expect. And yeah, no, I was shocked. I was skeptical before I did it. And then obviously doing it's changed my life. I'll be honest. It really has changed my life. I in my opinion, I'm a much healthier person now eating the way I do.
Yeah, I mean, it like the same thing for me. I was very skeptical first time I saw these crazy people eating all meat, but I tried it, and you know, and like I said, I was busting out world records on the concept too, which you know, it means you can at least do something. So,
yeah,
Eddie, thank you for doing this. Where can people find you?
At Eddie Hall WSM, all handles across all social network is the same. So just yeah, give us a follow if you can on there, and yeah, thank you very much.
All right, well, have a great training week and look forward to your fight. Thanks, Eddie. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Shawn. Cheers, mate.
All right, we're going to jump off. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks again.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.